There's been a rise in popularity within the tactical RPG genre. Each month, it seems a new title appears to test our understanding of the battlefield and managing a party. It's one of my favorite genres, so I was looking forward to the Aglobe-developed Redemption Reapers. From the promotions leading up to release, I witnessed what I assumed to be an epic adventure. Sadly, this SRPG tries to do far too much while forgetting some of the genre's core elements, delivering an unfun and unfulfilling experience. Redemption Reapers has a powerful opening that sets up an intense hatred for the main enemy known as the Mort. These creatures make their way into the village, and it's up to the main protagonist Sarah and the remaining members of the mercenaries known as Ash and Hawk Brigade to take them down. The Mort are reasonably easy to hate. I mean, they all have this generic Lord of the Rings orc look to them, but I was up for the quest of taking these things out and saving who I can. That said, the enemies aren't the only generic thing in this game. While the narrative attempts to throw a bible of terms of lore at the player about the war against these creatures, I didn't really care about the region's struggle, and I wanted to know more about the main cast. Strangely, the narrative doesn't dive into them until much later in the game, and the opening few hours are simply about clearing out maps of enemies. Further, the character designs seem to have no originality, each simply looking like the job class they are assigned. You have your cute blonde-haired bow girl, the muscly axe dude, and the cool-headed spearman. It's just so dull it hurts. I do feel like Sarah is the most interesting character of the bunch, and while the story becomes more focused by hour 10, getting there will take a lot of patience. And notice how I said patience and not strategy. Redemption Reapers continues its quest for generic features by providing map after map of creaky dungeons or torn up villages. In the opening hours, you're slowly introduced to each of the 5 Ash and Hawk members, but they will never feel like a real party. Supposedly, they've been a group for quite a while now, but their chemistry hardly works. Where perhaps some character-focused side quests would have benefited their friendship, you're forced to play through each chapter linearly, which limits level grinding and is just a massive setback while you get accustomed to the systems. Characters gain experience after each attack. However, if a character doesn't attack enough, they'll be underleveled. As you progress, that character will typically be one-shotted by enemies because stats are kept exceptionally low here. Just don't expect your HP to ever reach over 100. The developers attempt to mitigate this issue with a way to train party members, but this only allows you the chance to dump excess experience points in a few characters to give them a level. This entire game is begging for a side quest option where you can play a few missions before the primary mission to level up your characters properly. If not played correctly, you'll likely have a few characters who may never be needed in battle. The early chapters need free-to-play type missions to keep the party balanced and add rewards for those who want to play the optional missions. Other included systems that aren't explicitly detailed allow you to upgrade weapons, each with durability that requires you to actually repair them too. You have no idea how many times I got to the end of a map only for all my characters to be running around with broken weapons, and I tried to equip other weapons they were holding on to, but I didn't have the option. That said, money is tough to come by, so you're faced with several dilemmas before a mission. Do you buy a new weapon, upgrade a weapon, or fix your current weapons? I usually opted to fix them because it was the cheapest, but I never had enough for everything. I'm not complaining about the difficulty, I just don't understand why I needed all of these systems working against me. If that wasn't enough, characters can only heal once during a match. There are particular areas on the map that refill this heal, but you have 5 party members and usually only 2 additional heal areas, and it all just seems unfair. Battles require a sense of strategy, but they will likely all play out similarly. This has to do with the follow-up attacks that reward you for surrounding enemies. If you have a character adjacent to an enemy, a follow-up attack option is available. This opens up a nice flow in the first few hours, but it grows dull quickly since it's the only strategy you'll use throughout the entire game. Surround the enemy, execute the attack, and surrounding follow-up attacks over and over again. Later on, you must consider buffs and debuffs as well, but don't expect the game to highlight this for you. It all comes down to character skills, which can be upgraded between chapters. If you forget to do this, you'll likely know because you'll die very fast, but skills can be upgraded with added passive abilities that aid with keeping your party alive just a little bit longer. That said, if a party member does die in battle, there's no way to revive them. I do wish there was a way to share an unused healing item to bring them back to life or something. Just anything to help me out. Navigating the maps can be a bit confusing, but I did enjoy the way the characters can be controlled over the spaces. You aren't tied to actions in this game. Instead, AP dictates how many times you can attack, but it's also possible to move after attack to set up a follow-up attack or put some space between you and the enemy. Further, the animations for attacks are profound and carry a lot of weight to them. Sadly, it's strange when you do this awesome attack but only deal 3 damage to an enemy. The sad part about battles is that they have no sense of urgency. You'll likely barely know what you're doing there, let alone why you're fighting in the first place. Still, that didn't stop the developers from throwing 30 enemies on a map and expecting you to make it to the end to fight the boss. It's like these maps are endurance rounds to see how long you can avoid damage, but even when I overcame a map that I spent 2 hours trying to complete, I felt more annoyed than accomplished. This is mainly because the game gives you no additional resources to make the trials ahead easier. You can be under-leveled for a mission and become stuck because there's no way to improve your party beforehand. Regardless of how generic Redemption Reapers is in terms of presentation, I did enjoy the cutscenes and voice dialogue. It isn't the best, but it does highlight some of the more important moments of the narrative. Sadly, static character illustrations represent the party during regular character interactions, but these scenes are still voiced at least. Graphically, there isn't much to write home about on the PC version. It doesn't support graphical options or provide options for high-resolution screens. However, one of the best elements of this game is the music, which is better than it has any right of being. Redemption Reapers is a messy tactical RPG that could have been so much more. The presentation and character designs are simply generic, with the narrative that will likely never grab your attention. There are some unique elements of character movements, but too many systems work against the player, creating an unfun experience from beginning to end. Here's to hoping updates based on player feedback make Redemption Reapers better in the future. Noisy Pixel is giving Redemption Reapers a 4 out of 10. Thanks for watching. Please read the full review at noisypixel.net. Noisy Pixel is run by a group of gamers who work hard to deliver news, reviews, previews, and more. Please subscribe to keep up with all our future content.
Noisy Pixel.